showing some people. He's actually got, so this is the red splash in his Simic deck, and this kind of cracks me up. This is Frank on the left. His red splash is a real soft splash. He's got one mana fixer to help make it easier. And what is he splashing red for? He's got Scarred Guildmage, Mugging, and
an Ember Beast.
And then Ember Beast. Oh, he actually has one Zerta Swine in his deck as well, but an Ember Beast.
What do you mean by a soft splash?
So he's got 4 red mana sources to support the Ember Beast. That sounds pretty soft to me. What, like, isn't Ember Beast kind of the thing you need to have, you know?
A mountain on the 3rd turn.
I mean, but I don't know. It's been working for him. Here he is playing for top 8, you know? Just looking at the kind of Simic, he's playing a kind of a Gruul-like Simic deck. He doesn't have Burst of Strength. He's more just got a bunch of dudes and is mostly just focused on brawling, right?
He's got 3 Cloudfin Raptors. I mean, maybe he could come out very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And then nursing his advantage with Spell Rupture and Totally Lost and Hands of Binding.
So there's one of those 3 Cloudfin Raptors.
Yeah, he's very much set up to be all in on Evolve, and one of the big strengths of the Ember Beast in his deck is how much it can continue to trigger his Evolve creatures early, you know?
So, an Orzhov Guildmage. Sorry. Is that Viscopa?
Absolutely.
It's actually a card Orzhov
Actually,
Guildmage.
Viscopa Guildmage. Frank in the tank on his 2nd land drop. Now, Frank really needs to come out swinging. He's definitely playing a tempo-based Cloudfin Raptor deck. If he falls behind, he doesn't have a ton of tools for actually getting back into it, you know? Whereas if the game goes long, Will's got a variety of... Will has some removal spells. He's got some Extort. He's got some flyers that he could hook up with his Shadow Slices. So, plus, he just has a ton of removal. You know, like 3 Executioner swings. So there's actually quite a bit Will can do, but he's going to be behind most of the game.
So, Frank played a Shamble Shark prior to attacking with his Cloudfin Raptor just to get the Evolve on.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And that's the way you got to do it. I mean, he's very committed to the Evolve plan. He considered, is there any way to somehow, you know, trick this so that I somehow kill the Guildmage? But no, he just wants to bring the beats. Now, do you think that Will's going to block and trade his Kingpin? Looks like he is, right? Like, he doesn't want to take the damage, and he's going to start falling further and further behind. The only way he doesn't is if he's got an Executioner swing or 2.
I don't think he's going to block.
Oh, okay.
Do not. Looks like he's writing down some life. Yep.
Yeah, he takes it.
I think that, like you said, he's got a fair amount of removal, right? And the Orzhov decks kind of take some hits before coming back. You know, with Extort and some point removals. I think that maybe that's the plan he wants to be on. It's not like he's like overwhelmingly behind right now, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, he's at 13, facing down a 2-turn clock. So like he's definitely going to have to what kind of pace a little bit.
Total number of he's got 3 Executioner swings. Maybe he's got 1 in hand.
Yeah, he's at 14 with he kind of needs an Executioner swing every turn from here on out just to.
Oh, it looks like he played up. Is that a Godless Shrine? It is, and then he summons a Griffin.
This is really like he can't win this race this way.
Are there Blood Rushes, some battalion triggers that are hiding in his deck?
In Will's deck?
In Will's deck, yeah.
No.
I'm not sure. I think
this is a very aggressive line
because he just dealt himself 2 as well.
Yeah, this is.
So Frank, does he have a Simic?
Oh wow, Frank actually played his Cloudfin Raptor in Experiment 1 in reverse order. But
oh, so he would miss an Evolve trigger?
Yeah, but from the looks of it, he's so far ahead that he'll probably be okay anyway. He's looking to. I mean,
do you think that's a mistake, or do you think like he thinks he's so far ahead that he could do that just to tilt Will a little bit? Like you do.
I don't know. I don't know how fruitful of a line that is, but What I
Are
do
you
know
telling me
is
you've never done something like that?
what I do know is that Will's going to have to start blocking at some point. He can't just keep taking this. And this is part of the reason why I thought maybe last turn he should have traded his Kingpin with the Shamble Shark. This is 7 damage at this point that he could have prevented.
Greater than half of his. 1, 2.
Yeah, but of course you can't always know that this Simic deck is going to come out this aggressively.
I mean, he could have paced against the creatures that were already in play, though, which I think was your point. I think that it's tough. He probably values the Kingpin's Pet very highly and looks down on the Shamble Shark as being
Well, I mean, it is from the Simic Guild, so how good could it be? But now, unfortunately, he has to trade the Assault Griffin with the Shamble Shark, which would have been an effective tool for trading with that Cloudfin Raptor. Either way, he's going to need to start drawing some removal spells in a hurry. Because, like, at this point, I mean, he doesn't really have the capability of blocking Frank's attacks. One thing for sure, he needs to stop attacking.
Well,
get the base
I'm just counting up all the counters
here.
and the power on Frank's side. I mean, do we know what Frank's remaining card is? Does he have 1 card left?
We do not.
I mean,
but any creature...
Will can't attack with anything here, right? And he's just in a bad trade situation as well.
Correct. What he really needs are some removal spells and some extort triggers. A couple of removal spells. Like if he had Death's Approach and Executioner Swing, I mean, he could start, you know, start making some headway. It's real hard to block these Simic decks sometimes. They're very focused on avoiding blocks, so counting on blockers to defend yourself, not always super effective. Fortunately for Will, Frank is down to just land. But Frank is way ahead on the board. He's got 2 Cloudfin Raptors, Frilled Oculus, an Experiment 1, and a Death Cult Rogue.
So, Frank's got multiple flyers. He can't run the second Cloudfin Raptor in right now, right? It will just be defeated in battle.
No, yeah. Nothing too fancy.
So, and then Corpse Blockade.
No, I mean,
it's a decent containment unit.
Yeah, I think at this point you swing with the 2 creatures that can attack with impunity, right? Like the Rogue, which is unblockable,
and then the larger
the Cloudfin Raptor, which is large enough to be
just live through the
right. Because like he can trade all the rest of it. He can send the rest of his team, and maybe if he swings with the rest of the team. Yeah, so he is going to swing with the team and cash him in. Not the flyer.
If you make this attack, don't you send the last?
Well, so now Will can actually have his Guild Mage trade with the Experiment 1, and the Corpse Blockade block the Frilled Oculus.
Do you like holding back the last Raptor? Is really what I'm asking.
Yeah, because, I mean, the attack doesn't really accomplish a lot for Frank, but if you attack with the Raptor, it would just be giving it away for free. I mean, as we saw, the Kingpin's not even going to fight, you know. At least this way, I mean, perhaps Frank is deciding he would prefer to have the Experiment 1 and the Vizkopa Guildmage trade right now, because of the Vizkopa Guildmage's ability to start gaining life, you know, the lifelink ability. I think that's a reasonable line. I do think that there's no reason to throw away the Raptor at this point, though. Will is going to need... He's going to need a couple of removal spells in a row in order... I mean, like as we said, he just doesn't really have the creatures in his deck to block with.
He doesn't have catch-up cards either, right?
No.
Like, even his Executioner swings are going to cost him a bit.
And the biggest thing he has to catch up with is, like, he can put Gift of Orzhova on one of his creatures. You know, like if he put it on his Kingpin, at least he's making some forward progress.
So he's getting a little extort here out of a key rune. And tapping for
a Death's Approach with a extort trigger. Now this is some real progress. Now we're actually talking. You know,
just enough creatures down that he can kill that rogue.
Because I mean, he's got the Kingpin's Pet, and the lifelink from the Orzhov Runki. He can actually make some forward progress as long as he doesn't die in the next couple of turns. And the primary road to that is playing a removal spell per turn. This turn, it was on the 2/2 on the 2/2 rogue. Now he mostly just needs to deal with the Cloudfin Raptor.
If he had played the Raptor and the Experiment 1 in proper order, the Raptor would have had an additional counter, right?
Correct. And he would have been.
And he would be swinging with that Raptor at least twice now.
Yes.
And it would have. Yeah. I think maybe the put my opponent on tilt line wasn't the correct line to have taken, given how things developed then.
Will looks like he is going to extort off of his Millennial Gargoyle. It is always so dicey to try to double block the Cloudfin Raptor in this position. A lot can go wrong. I mean, at least here, burst of strength isn't really an issue, but the problem is any number of blood rushes make this block abysmal. Like, for instance, Scab Clan Charger.
I mean, he can't know which blood rushes there are yet, right?
And to be fair, if Frank actually had Scab Clan Charger in his hand last turn, he would have played it for sure to double pump his 2 Cloudfin Raptors, you know?
Frank's down to 8 now. I mean, Will maybe sees him within shooting distance. I mean, if he alphas, he has 1, 2, 3. Oh, he doesn't have 8. But the score is closed substantially.
Absolutely. And this is also putting a lot of pressure on Frank where, yep, see, Frank actually doesn't attack with his Cloudfin Raptor because at this point, he'd be trading 2 for 4. Will just bleeding Frank. A point here, a point there, trying to get him low enough to make it so that tactically Frank can't afford to leave himself vulnerable.
It's kind of like what the extort mechanic is designed to do.
Very possibly. Will taking full advantage of every little life he can gain.
Who do you think's favored in the standoff here? Will? He has removals.
Well, I mean, if the game goes long enough, I mean, the extort is just the best mechanic for a standoff. Plus, Will just has a lot of removal and more late game cards. That said, Frank has drawn more mana, and this is going to be devastating.
A gift, then extort.
Booster draft 129.
It's kind of off. That guy kind of already had wings.
Yeah, but the thing is now.
Booster draft 1 to 29 or 1 to 30.
So this is going to be interesting. If Frank double blocks, he can kill the gargoyle. But at least he kills the light. Yeah, at least. But now Will's position is way ahead. He kills the only big raptor, and now he's got a nice little life cushion. And now we're in a position where he's very clearly ahead on board. He has 1 creature more than Frank, and all of his creatures outclass all of Frank's creatures.
Frank looks like he's drawn something. Red.
It is mugging.
Is it mugging?
It is.
It's probably gonna mug the Kincoming's Pet.
So at least now, he's to parity. The problem.
Send the Raptor in.
Yeah, but the problem is the Orzo of Runekey can attack to gain a life each turn, and actually drain for 1. It just costs a little bit of mana.
Yep. So, animating there.
Will plays a Syndicate Tithe, so he's back on the extort plan again.
Syndicate Tithe is a very, very powerful creature.
Frank needs to get something going because, as we said, before the Syndicate Tithes, he was at parity. And now he's actually making some progress on offense again, which is a start. But it takes only 1 removal spell to collapse Frank's counterplay at this point. It seems like it wasn't very many turns ago when Frank had a board of 6 aggressive creatures. Will is very patiently just fighting his way back in. It was clawing tooth and nail.
Really, just the order played on that Experiment 1 versus Cloudfin Raptor could have been the difference in this game.
It's definitely going to be a tight one now. Will's it appears no longer able to make forward progress with the Orzhov Key Rune, which means he's going to need something else in a hurry. Frank has drawn multiple spells in a row.
Oh, a Denizen.
Magic players, a reminder, side event is closing 45 minutes. If you'd like to get any more,
A lot of good games in this format. A lot of good, close, tight games. Another extorter.
So
this is exactly what Will wanted to see. He wants 2 extort creatures so that he can be staying ahead in life, and now he just wants to find a removal spell to get rid of Frank's counterplay. The burden is definitely on him though, because Frank will have him dead in 3 turns. 3 more turns after this. Wow. Very aggressive. This is about to make... now, he's got to stack it correctly. But this is going to leave the... Assuming he stacks it correctly, this is going to leave the Cloudfin Raptor as a 4-5. Will making sure he can do it, and he does. Will needs an Executioner swing ASAP. Draws another land.
Drew was a swamp, though.
$10 draft.
So he's just dead on board, right?
I
think that's what Frank is deciding on.
131.
Oh, to stay alive and then double drain.
Yep. A good play by Will.
Who's he sacrificing? Yep. Corpses. It's funny they went to the graveyard instead of somebody else in their service.
You think Frank should have attacked with the team there?
I would have certainly thought about that. And a slice.
Wow.
For is that?
Standard box number 39.
Is that hold on? What life was Frank at? Who was down to 4? Sorry,
Frank was at 4.
Yeah, it looked like 6 for a
Slice
second.
for the win.
So slice with extorts.
Unbelievable. What a top deck. Will puts himself in a position to have a chance. One more live draw. Play good, get rewarded. Very awesome. So an awful lot just happened real fast, but just to, I guess, back up a moment, what we just saw was Frank in a dominating position with lethal on the table, swings with his flyer. Will, the only way he could survive, sacrifices his own creature to devour flesh, gets 2 extort triggers, buying himself 1 more turn.
1 top deck.
And
Only
the 2
top
extort
deck
triggers
needed.
knock Frank down to exactly 4. Or knock him down to 4. I guess he could have been at 5.
Could have been.
Right, but knocks him down to low enough so that a top deck Shadow Slice, if he draws one of his 2 Shadow Slices, he can win from this position. And sure enough, he drew one of his 2 Shadow Slices. Unbelievable.
How do you like the slice?
Dude, that's fantastic. Well, very very well played on Will's part, giving himself the opportunity and not leaking the information about the Devour Flesh, because if Frank had attacked with all of his creatures, I think the only way that Will lives is to lose his entire board, which includes both of his extort creatures.
Meaning that he could not then draw the slice for the card.
Correct. Not sure. Have to go back and look, because maybe he'd still have the Orzhov Key Rune, but I don't think he has enough mana to Orzhov Key Rune and Shadow Slice.
Slice.
I think he's 1 mana short of that.
That'd be pretty exciting though. Like then he gets like 6 in from
I'm not
that.
sure. It was very close. But yeah, because the Syndicate Ties would die to any creature it blocks, and the Orzhov Basilica would probably have to block the 4/3 Trampler. It's the only way to prevent enough damage. It's not clear. I guess we'd have to go back and look, but it was very, very good play on Will's part, not leaking information about what his plan was. You know, like selling it like, I guess I'm just going through the motions.
Yeah, I agree. I would not have predicted that he had Devour Flesh in his hand for that spot. When he first played it, I was thinking to myself, is he just
Hoping that he's...
Is he just hoping that he's going to sacrifice the lethal Cloudfin Raptor?
Yeah.
Oh, no. He's going to get his own
That
man.
is the advantage of Devour Flesh. It has a special ability compared to Tribute to Hunger. Yeah, we were talking about this in preparation for the last PT, that Devour Flesh is like a better Diabolic Edict, because it's a Diabolic Edict with upside. Sometimes you can use it on your Augur Bolas as a poor man's healing salve. You can't do that with Diabolic Edict.
No, you can't. The thing that's interesting about it, though, is I think especially in Limited, depending on what kind of Orzhov deck that you've drafted, there are a lot of Orzhov decks that actually don't want to be Devour Fleshing. You really don't want to give up those points to your opponent. And then there are other decks that, kind of the sit there, prioritize extort decks that actually don't care if they give you a few points, especially early.
Yeah, but we're even talking about in Standard, where the only way, let's be serious, the only way we're ever winning is by jacing people or drowning them out. So like their life total never matters.
You never get them with like a Lingering Souls token?
I didn't even play Lingering Souls.
Not good enough for you?
Neither did Ben Stark or Wafo. None of us did.
If Tom Martell had played these decks, do you think there would have been Lingering Souls in it?
No, he was considering playing Esper, and he wasn't playing Lingering Souls in Esper then either. Yeah, I know, kind of crazy, right? But then again, perhaps that's why he didn't play it. No, Tom is not a guy to just stick Lingering Souls where they don't belong. Believe you me, though, if Lingering Souls was right, Tom would have found it because he certainly tried it.
He played Lingering Souls in the deck he won the Pro Tour with.
I know, but it was an aggro deck instead of a control deck that doesn't ever win by damage. Lingering Souls is a very effective attacker, but if all you're ever doing with it is chump blocking, the format has become much more hostile for Lingering Souls as chump blockers because, first of all, there's things like Thundermaw Hellkite, but second of all, so many of the creatures are 2/2s and 3/3s and 4/4 tramplers. Being able to block with a bunch of 1/1s isn't what it used to be.
It's funny that you mentioned Thundermaw Hellkite. That guy's job when they made him was to be like, oh,
I
think we made Lingering Souls a little bit too good. How many abilities can we tack onto this guy?
I mean, Thundermaw Hellkite was pretty blunt, but it is kind of amusing to see how, like, people were very, at the time, fixated on the whole Delver situation. There was an awful lot of unsummons and mana leaks and... Alright, so Frank starting it off with a Guild Gate and Forest. Will has Goblet Shrine and Swamp. This is not a great start for Frank. Any start that doesn't involve a creature on 1 and a creature on 2 is real tough for Frank. I mean, the way, like, his deck is not a mid-speed or late-game deck. It is an early rush deck.
Mugging.
I got to imagine that he's got to have at least some of his big creatures, like maybe his Ivy Lane Denizen and his 4/3, one of his Crowned Ceratox. I got to know why else he would have kept this hand. And there's the Denizen.
Yep, exactly the creature that you predicted. In for 2.
The beats must begin now. And the Corpse Blockade, completely blunting Frank's offensive.
How do you like Corpse Blockade?
It's okay. I mean, there's a lot of things that do his job, but he's fine at it.
Exactly the creatures you said were in his hand.
Ceratox.
There they are.
Well, there's no other creatures that make sense for him to have except things that cost 4 or 5. And I don't think he really has a lot of 5-drops. I mean, I guess he's got Leyline Phantom, but that's not super exciting in this position.
Oh. Will's played the Slice. He's probably going to put it on his Rogue, yeah?
Correct.
And it'll be interesting. He's just looks like he's in a position to race pretty aggressively. So he probably just did, is that 6, 8?
Yep. So he's got Frank on a 2-turn clock.
So do we know Frank's proper life total is probably about 10, right?
It is
yeah,
10.
So
He's got him on a 2-turn clock with the Shadow Sliced Rogue.
2 swings for 5.
Now, how many ways does Frank have to get out of this? He's got Hands of Binding, Totally Lost, and...
Does he have like a Simic Charm or anything? Nope.
No.
Oh, he just played Totally Lost.
So he does have the Totally Lost. There you go.
I think Totally Lost is kind of a funnily named card. Like, you're not totally lost. You know exactly where you are. You're just right there on top.
Touche. Fortunately, it looks like Frank still has a bunch more 4-drops, and he's going to need them because he's going to have to do this the old-fashioned way, just beating down with fatties. This is not really the game he wants to be playing, and certainly not behind the gun with a rogue that
5 swings in for the
right. Like he's basically suspend 4, win the game is in effect here. So he doesn't really have a lot of time to think around. And he hasn't really mounted much offense yet. Wow. This is going to be devastating.
Oh,
Gift of
Gift of
Roars.
Rosova.
Yeah.
So that doesn't quite cut the clock in half, does it? 3.
Well, it has Frank at 7.
4 attacks.
No, just 3.
3 attacks?
He's got Frank at 7 with a 3-power unblockable creature. But the problem is Will's deck is also capable of sneaking in 1 extra store here and there very easily. Either way, though, he's draining for 3 now every turn instead of just dealing 3.
So this is really blunting Frank's ability to race, right? So it's not just that he has to do 15, he's going to have to do
21.
18,
he's got to do
21,
20. He either has to
24.
do 21 in the next 2 turns, which I think is outside of his deck's range, or he doesn't really have anything else to draw to except that 1 Hands of Binding. I don't think he has any other way to even make a game of it. I think it's got to be... he can play his own Death Cult Rogue,
It just is a wait.
As a blocker.
The guy's got flying.
Oh, that's a good point. No, yeah, that's... No, I think at this point he basically has
It's
to...
hands of binding or no.
Yeah.
And even then, he needs something to facilitate the continued hands of binding on the rogue, right? It's not like you just do it once.
Correct. I mean, he has a pretty good board position, but all Will has to do is tread water for 2 turns. Wow. And Will continues to interact. Will's just trying to preserve his life total as much as possible. He's like, well, let's just make sure that you don't have the ability to do 21 damage in 2 turns.
That doesn't seem like the right life total to me, 10.
Is it possible that he forgot to gain his life from the lifelink?
Is that allowed? Is that a mistrigger?
It is a trigger.
For bottom box number 11.
I think you are allowed to. You're not allowed to do it on purpose, but I think you're allowed to accidentally miss your own lifelink.
I don't know that you are.
But it's difficult for us to know for sure if these life totals are even what the players believe right now, which we apologize for, but... Frank continuing to get in there.
Judge Brian Crowell, please report.
Where do you think
the
I assume you think that there's going to be a block from the Griffin, right?
Yep.
Where do you think it's going to go? Ceratox?
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, I think the Corpse Blockade's got to block the Ivy League Denizen as well.
I think so. I mean, for sure the blockade is going to block. That's all he does.
Yeah.
But the...
Yeah, I think the Griffin. And Frank does have the Blood Rush. But...
Oh.
Okay.
I think that life total must not be 10.
This is aggressive. Wait, if that... Yeah, interesting. So Will just wants to have lethal on board, and now he dies to the double Blood Rush.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Wow. So Frank sneaks the win. Epic game. Wow, what a... Like... Now, to be fair... I mean, like, let's assume that this is Will's correct life total.
Yeah.
Even if he had blocked, he could only soak up 6 points of damage. Yeah. He could only prevent 6 points of damage. So, the 10, 17...
I don't know how big the medium Ivy League, the middle Ivy League Denizen was. So based on... Yeah,
but so there's the big Denizen was 4 power.
Yep.
The Ceratok was 4 power.
As long as the
those two are 8 power together.
Yep.
With 7 points of pump, that's 15. So with Will having 10 points of toughness of blockers, and
everybody's got trample, right?
Correct. 10 points of toughness that he can soak up. The middle Ivy League Denizen only had to have at least 1 power in order to present lethal from that position.
Okay.
That was very, very impressive.
We had Will as being way ahead that game, it seemed.
Yeah, it's just a question of if there was enough blood rushes, but I don't know. I wonder. It sure seemed like he missed a lifelink trigger, but I guess I don't know. We'll leave it back to you. Everybody at home, perhaps you can fill us in. Tweet at us and let us know. Is that a real thing? Yeah.
Tweet at us if you can miss a lifelink.
No, that's not the question. The question is whether or not he did.
Okay.
I think. Who knows? What I do know is that it sounds like they're rearranging their pageantry. They're setting up the cameras at different angles and perhaps just shining a spotlight on Brian Kibler or something. I don't know. They're going to change the angles.
Doesn't Brian Kibler come with a spotlight shining on him?
You're talking about his aura? His glow?
No, he has a well-designed backpack, actually.
He's a well-designed backpack?
And it's got like a spotlight coming out of the top of it. Huh. And it also actually has an audio rig that when anytime someone walks within 5 feet, it goes...
Is this true?
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes, it's true. He's had a lot of engineering work put into it.
He's like the $6 million man.
He's like the $6 million backpack.
Absolutely. Have you ever seen his backpack that's like shaped like a tiger?
No.
Oh yeah.
This weekend I saw a picture of him with a kind of a tiger headdress.
He's really big into tigers. The Dragon Master. It's not clear that he's even rightfully called the Dragon Master anymore.
You think he should be like the Tiger Master?
I don't know if master is the right word either, because I think he considers them to be equals. But he is a man among tigers.
Does he like live among tigers? Like he hangs out in their caves. He goes to India.
No, I think he just really likes them. Like he gets gear that looks like him, and he likes pictures of them.
Okay. So, Grand Prix, Charlotte.
Yeah.
Almost 2,700 players.
Yeah.
Largest North American Grand Prix, largest Grand Prix, largest Magic tournament.
It's not clear there's ever been a NASCAR race bigger than this, if we're just talking about Grand Prix. I mean, like,
I certainly don't think there's been a NASCAR race that had this many participants. I think it depends on what you consider a NASCAR race, because I think if you include people also sitting in the stands, that there would probably been a NASCAR race that had more than 2,300 fans.
Dude, I remember the good old days when they used to have like the NASCAR races just flying around the streets of Detroit, like just racing around Detroit. Back when I was like -6, it was like, ugh. All right, so we're starting game 3. This is the
I don't remotely
final
understand
game.
what you were talking about.
Oh, all the NASCAR fans, could you tweet at us and let us know if you guys are also up on the Detroit Belle Isle races where they're just racing in their race cars around the streets of Detroit? All the true race car fans out there, just tweet at us. All right, so it looks like Will is taking a mulligan. We're in game 3, playing for top 8 of the biggest tournament. What do you think about the idea? We touched on this briefly yesterday, but what do you think about the idea of this possibly being the most difficult Magic tournament of all time to win? I know you're a guy who likes like everything the way it is only more so, and like if something is a 7, like might as well call it a 10. But like the chances of winning any given match of Magic, like there's a lot of things that can go, that can go wrong.
I don't think.
Take for instance Tom Martell. Tom Martell, Pro Tour champion. Do you think he has this? Do you think he's really going to win 90% of his matches against unknown opponent? No, it's not possible.
Of course not.
No, and that's as high as the bar can go.
All right, so let me present to you. Your bar is winning the tournament, right?
I mean, that depends. What we're
the
talking.
question is winning the tournament. Right?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, so there have been multiple tournaments that featured both John Finkel and Kai Bude in the top 8. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're going to win that tournament in an elimination position, I think that
the majority of those Kai and John didn't even win.
Excuse me?
How
many tournaments had Kai and John both in the top 8 of?
I don't know, like 4?
And
3?
Your position is neither Kai nor John won those?
No, Kai won a couple of them. Like at least 1 or 2, but...
All right. Will Craddock, second
Syndicate
turn, Syndicate Tides. Frank Skarren, a Forest.
Besides, an 8-man tournament? Please.
An Island, and is it going to be an Oculus? What is it?
So,
A
Frank,
bear.
once again, with no Cloudfin Raptor. You can't have it every turn, or every game.
How many gates does Frank have?
I think at least 2.
He has 2 gates, a Gruul Guild gate and a Simic Guild gate. So, Greenside Watcher's a little bit better than just a bad bear in this game.
Yeah, and he's got one of the Guild gates in his hand. And this is not a bad position to be in.
So,
What he does need, though, is to start mounting an offensive, because he's not playing the kind of deck where he just puts out one guy. His creatures all are very synergy-driven. There's an awful lot of them feeding into each other. And here we see, wow, interesting. So the Experiment 1 into Zemek Guildmage. Zemek Guildmage, very powerful in his heavily evolved themed strategy.
There's a lot of
It's a little
1/1
slow, but this is
counters
this is one of the
fool
most
around
powerful ways Frank has to go long, or go medium even.
So the actual size and card advantage of the Guildmage against
Judge Ryan Hoffman.
the grindiness of the various Orzhov extorters. Frank, the superior board position, you would say right now?
Oh, by a mile.
By a
Particularly
mile,
since
right?
he can untap his Guild Gate and mugging the Syndicate Ties, removing all of Will's counterplay. Although it is pretty clear in this position that Will has an Executioner swing, which is going to take out one of those guys. What I wonder is if there's any chance that Frank doesn't attack with his Zamek Guildmage, figuring it's worth so much to him that he would actually sacrifice the extra damage.
$10 draft, 135.
Frank untapping the Gruul Guild Gate. Every day he's shuffling.
Oh, so he's going to skip the mugging for this turn and probably commit a 4-drop to, let's see.
And
He does the 2/4 vanilla.
so producing a 3/3 experiment 1.
And the nice thing about this line is that it allows him to not have to even begin to engage with the Zamek Guildmage. He can just keep it in his hand.
All right, so
Will
like
does
you
have the
said,
Executioner
swing and
I'm actually not convinced you
1-point
even
grind.
swing with the Experiment 1 in that position. It's so clear that Will has Executioner swing,
You just want to
but
leave
he's
his mana
bottlenecked,
fallow.
he's bottlenecked on mana. Besides, he probably has another one.
I think the way Will's playing. So he's got 2 white. It's hard to see right now, but his
What else
he's
would
got a
Will be
duel in
doing?
there.
He's got cards in his hand and can't cast anything for 5 mana with his Extort up. What else could he have besides Executioner swing?
More lands.
Maybe. But if he does, there's no problem anyway.
All right, so the mugging has occurred.
So now everybody gets in there, and we find out if the Zamek Guildmage gets -5/-5.
And
Shocking. What are the odds? So interesting. A little 1/1 for 1.
it's got some text though.
Yeah, is that Throw Parasite?
Yeah,
Store
so
triggers are nice.
I think that it depends on how deep you want to go, right? But against
The
Is that Way of the Thief?
Way of the Thief.
So, what I was going to say before this explosive Way of the Thief, correct, is that, you know, if you... Cards like that, put a +1/+1 counter on.
Yeah,
You can, you know, remove counters, and that could be profitable. Just depends on how much you want to pay.
That's the match.
Will no longer has the option, though.
excellent. Good sideboarding work out of Frank.